Well, good afternoon and good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend tonight's session. This is a University of Liverpool webinar. My name is Nicole Wayman, and I will be your moderator today. Before we get started, I'd like to inform you that there will be a Q&A text box available. We do encourage you to submit your questions, and we will be able to answer some of them live, while others will be answered by our enrollment advisors in the background. And now, please join me in welcoming today's panel. Once again, my name is Nicole Wayman, and I will be your moderator for today. Joining me on the panel is Nicholas Kendrat. Nick, please say hello.
Hello to everybody out there. I see some of my students that I'm working with, so thanks everybody for their time, and looking forward to spending the next hour with you guys.
Great, thanks, Nick. Jamie Shaw, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jamie. And we also have Sammy Jabbering, Enrollment Advisor. Sammy, do you want to say hello?
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Sammy Jabbering. I'm an Enrollment Advisor with the University of Liverpool, and I will be available tonight in the chat answering questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also are quite pleased to introduce today's guest, Dr. Ann Pousette. Dr. Pousette is a July 2017 award-winning graduate of the Master of Public Health program. Good day, Ann, and welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone.
Well, Ann, would you kindly take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your studies and current situation?
Well, my background is family medicine and some occupational medicine. So I trained as a medical doctor originally, and after more than 2 decades in that field, I work up in northern Canada, in the middle of British Columbia. I found that I was getting more involved in health promotion and community development, and I wanted to expand my knowledge and develop some skills, and that led me to seeking out the Master Public Health program, and then discovered the online program through the University of Liverpool. So that change of career direction for me has been kind of progressive through the program, and now I'm working a lot more in the nonprofit sector, doing collaborative and multi-sectoral work, utilizing the skills that I gained in that program.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ann, for sharing. We will hear more from Ann as we go through the webinar, but now let's cover today's agenda. So today we will provide you with information on the heritage of the University of Liverpool. The University of Liverpool is an original red brick university. From there, we will take a look at the accreditations and strong faculty presence. We'll then take a walk through of online learning with our primary guest, Dr. Ann Pousette. Ann has an incredible career history and a very successful academic journey with the Master of Public Health program at the University of Liverpool online. We will complete our webinar with a discussion on next steps to enrollment and a live Q&A session. Now let's get started. So Nick, do you mind sharing a bit about University of Liverpool's heritage?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to, Nicole, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this. Liverpool is known more than just for the Beatles and the Liverpool Football Club. It's actually known to a world-class university that's been around since 1881. You see the red brick there on your screen, and it is also home to a university that has a membership to the Russell Group, which is a very esteemed group of universities in the UK known for their research impact. Our university is consistently in the top 150 to 170 universities of the world, and we're also very proud to be associated with 9 Nobel laureates. So that just shows that our history and our prestige dates back to the late 19th century. In addition to being a top 1% university in the world, we are very proud of our research impact, so much so that 81% of our university research is ranked world leading or internationally excellent. So I've been in higher education for 15 years and you just don't see that. So Liverpool is a world-known city, and within that is a world-class university steeped in tradition and prestige. And if I may, Nicole, Dr. Ann, tell me a little bit about your, were you satisfied with the accreditation and the reputation of Liverpool?
Yeah, my search for an online program was really around the content of what I wanted to learn, and that led me to the Master Public Health program there. But as I began checking into the University of Liverpool, it didn't take me long to realize that a number of world-renowned researchers in the area of public health have come through the University of Liverpool, and it has a stellar research record, as you've mentioned. And partway through my program, the fee accreditation also was added, and that just put another more formal stamp on that record around the reputation of the university.
Yeah, and in addition to the university accreditation, we see on the screen there that we have specific industry accreditation through AFIA, as you mentioned, for the public health. There's the BCS for our computing programs, as well as the AACSB for a management school. So I'm glad to hear you were satisfied with the quality of your university, Dr. Ann. Thank you.
Nick, while we're speaking of the quality of the university, let's speak a bit about the faculty. What can you tell us about the faculty, Nick?
Absolutely. One thing about the faculty, of course, they're going to play probably the most significant role in the student's success. And the one thing that we really like to emphasize is the close relationship that you're going to form with your professor throughout your 8 modules, and then with your dissertation advisor through the dissertation. You can see they're based around the world in 45 countries. In addition to having a steep academic background, we are very proud to say that they are actually in the field. So not only are you getting someone that is academically qualified to teach you about public health or IT or law, but you're also going to get someone that's actually out in the field that can bring the real world experience to their teaching style and their delivery within the classroom.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing, Nick. Now, let's talk about online education. So we know that the online learning environment is different than that of a campus setting. And I believe you have experience in both the online setting as well as the campus setting. Can you talk to us a bit about the learning environment, or the online learning environment, I should say?
Yeah, so this was a really unique experience for me. My first degree, a doctorate of medicine, was in a classroom setting at the University of British Columbia, and pretty traditional lectures and labs, and ultimately some clinical experience. But definitely the focus on collaborative learning, where you're in a relationship where you're having academic debate and discussion and learning from each other, along with your faculty member, is distinctly different, or was for me, than my bricks and mortar kind of experience, and that was very positive. I think that the online experience, because you're not all online at exactly the same time, was, people had said that maybe that would be a disadvantage, that you're not actually in a classroom, but the reality is that everybody's 3 or 4 hours to work is at a different time in the day, and so by having that time when you can actually focus, you're not thinking about other things, you set that time aside to really focus on it, and to enter into the debate, the conversations that are happening online, was really valuable. And I don't think you're going to get that level of engagement in the conversation in the classroom, actually, ironically, because it's a shorter time period. People are, you've got other things in your life, especially when you're trying to do a master's and work at the same time. So it was a really good learning experience for me. It was rigorous, but the content was excellent. The faculty knew where they're trying to get you during the week. There's kind of a process that you're going through each week around some learning objectives, and that interaction takes you through that, and the online ability to come on there when you're ready and you can sit down and do that work, I think facilitates good learning.
I agree. I agree. I tell candidates all the time it's a flexible learning environment. I do believe that you retain more as an adult learner when you're able to study in your own time versus a time that is dictated to you, as sometimes being on campus can be. As far as the differences in an online classroom versus, say, the traditional campus setting, were there any key differences for you?
I mean, I guess the big thing is you have to be a self-starter. You need to be disciplined and do your reading and get prepared for that week. So, I mean, though that's a little different than having it a bit spoon-fed to you on campus. But I think at a master's level, that goes with the territory as well. You need to take those initiatives and whatnot. And certainly in order to have a meaningful engagement in the classroom, you needed to do that work ahead of time. So. That's a difference. Sometimes you can go to a lecture after a lecture, just show up in class, sit down, whereas you can't do that on the online classroom. You've got to get engaged in your material and learn. I think the other thing is that the level of interaction with with the faculty and your classmates around that process of what you're trying to learn that week is different in that context than it is in a big lecture hall. I think you can have some small group learning that can work, but really there is a distinct difference in the process of learning.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So as we speak about the online learning environment, we do know that a big portion or a big part of our online programs has to do with collaborative learning. Can you now speak to us further about the collaborative learning model?
Yeah, I think, again, as I mentioned, you do that upstream reading and preparing for the week of discussion, and then you get into the classroom and you have that discussion with your classmates and your instructor or faculty member, and you have the benefit of that everyone in that classroom's experiences and their context where they live, different places around the world, and they've had different experiences, and many of us came from very different backgrounds. In Master of Public Health could have a nutritionist, a social worker, a pharmacist, nurses, all kinds of different people will do a Master of Public Health, and that was wonderful for me to learn from all those different people's past experiences and context, and that really is the collaboration around that material, and that just enables you to apply that learning in a much greater way than you would without that collaborative context.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. I tell people all the time that we're bringing people from all over the world that are dealing with some of the same issues in the field and dealing with them from different perspectives. So you really do get to learn from more of an international, it's more of you're learning from all scopes of the world, and you're able to apply some of those different best practices that everyone is using, or at least learn from them and try to apply them and give feedback on how it's working for you. So thank you for sharing that. So now did you, as far as your online study, did you have a favorite module while you were in your MPH program?
Each time I took a new module, I would get very excited about it, and it became my favorite module. So it's difficult to kind of say did one of them stand out. And when I think about it, I really would have to say maybe that last one, that research module, and then moving into the dissertation was what stood out, because it was that opportunity to pull all of that together, to find a way to fit it together and for it to make sense, and for it to bear out the fruit of why I just started the program in the first place, of gathering that knowledge and then learning how to apply it in a meaningful way. So.
Well, I'm glad you spoke to that, because a lot of concern is normally around the research and the dissertation. So it's good to hear that, there is a preparation period for students that are, that is specifically meant to help you bring together everything that you've learned and actually bring it together for your dissertation. So with that, was there any particular aspect of your studies that you felt really good about?
Well, I think I felt good when I got to the end, and I had produced this research that was meaningful. I had learned some things that I thought other people would want to know about, and that I had been able to pull it together and use the skills that I had learned, and even just, you know, the knowledge of how to look at it and how to approach it, and pulled it all together in that final dissertation. So that for me was the, you know, the icing on the cake, or the cherry on top, I would want to put it. But that was the thing. I did it. I actually completed this. I did what I set out to do. I've pulled it all together. So.
Awesome. Well, what was your greatest challenge during your studies, Anne?
You know, my greatest challenge was really transitioning from being a very practical person, a medical practitioner, to being an academic. I had to learn how to do academic writing, and it's very different than clinical medical academics. Is not the same as this kind of academic. So that was the first steep learning curve for me, and I worked at it. But, you know, I have to say that the support mechanisms that are built into the online program, the tutorials on writing, and all of the resources that are available there through the online library, like, that's what made it easy. I didn't have to go find some other source of information to bring my skills up. So that was great. And then also the faculty were very good and gentle in that first module in helping us move forward and move along and pick that up. So that was the number one. The second challenge for me is really probably more of a personal thing, in that I did not have very many social sciences in my previous educational opportunities. I had been very much a science-based curriculum. So just learning sociology and social theory was a big challenge at first, because you have to think differently. So again, that was another thing I felt that I'd accomplished, was actually being able to think very differently in terms of getting those basic principles of the social science theories ingrained in my way of approaching things.
Awesome. Well, Anne, we certainly appreciate you sharing that. Now, so, you know, you were a very successful student, winning the Dissertation of the Year award. Do you have any online study tips that you could share with our audience?
You know, I think the number one thing is being organized and being prepared, setting aside the time and sticking to your plan. You know, if you have a plan and you don't stick to it, or you get behind on it, it's not going to lead you to where you want to go. So, you know, creating a roadmap with, you know, making a plan for each week and for the month and for that module, and then pushing yourself to stick to it. And it does mean sacrifices in terms of other activities, and you need your family to help you out sometimes, and things come along. But if you can actually just keep focusing on that plan, you will make it through, and you'll do a good job. You'll be pleased with what you do.
Well, thank you, Anne. And we always tell everyone to get others involved, you know, get family, friends involved. The more people that are involved, the more motivated you'll continue to be as you're progressing through your studies. So thank you for sharing that. Now, Anne, can you tell us a bit about your career and how your new degree has impacted your career?
Yeah, well, my current work is mostly in the nonprofit sector. It's more on a consultant type basis. I tend to get involved in projects or facilitative processes that might not be a project, but really kind of more like helping people navigate in a complex world, if you like, and communication but generally in the health field, health promotion or community development field. So, you know, while I've been transitioning towards that during the course, and I was bringing skills to that work all the way through as I gained them, now that I've finished and you know, moving forward, what I see happening is that more opportunities are coming my way as other people recognize that degree, and that I have completed it, and that I have a credential that I didn't have before.
Awesome. And it's very obvious, Anne, that you are a lifelong learner. Can you tell us your thoughts on education at any point in your life, please?
Well, you know, I think we live in a world where we need to be learning all the time. Things are changing. We live in a complex world. We have a global society. We're impacted in all aspects of our life from many different places. So we need to be learning, and sometimes that learning, you know, requires us to look at it from an education perspective and see how can I take those next steps. And for me, that's what happened for me. You know, had been in my career for a long time. I've taken lots of courses. We do something called continuing medical education, or CME, on a regular basis, but it wasn't what I needed at that point in time. I recognized that I needed something more, and so, as scary as it sounds, in my mid-50s, I decided to look and see what I could do, and that led me to this program. Yeah, it took me a while to get through. I had to take a couple little breaks, but you know, we kept persevering, and I see that I will keep persevering and learning, and probably take some more courses down the road as well.
Awesome. Well, that's what we like to hear. And I definitely, you know, appreciate you sharing that, because some don't really, you know, you can't really see that this is doable. We get questions all the time like, you know, can you actually work and study, and, you know, questions about whether or not it's actually created for the adult learners. So I'm glad you kind of touched on some of those things during the conversation. So Anne, you were just at graduation in July, as I understand. Would you please tell us about your journey and participation in graduation?
I'd be glad to. Yeah, graduation was, you know, was a goal, and we set it as a family as a goal that we'd go there when I finished. So everybody was nudging me on; they wanted to have this trip to Liverpool. So that was good encouragement to keep going. And so once you know, I had finished that dissertation, and we knew we were on our way, it was very exciting to plan a trip to Liverpool. But I think that the thing that surprised me was how important it was once I got there to actually see the buildings, and to, you know, go to meet other students from around the world and from the campus there who had done their program there, and the faculty, and to feel a part of the institution, to be a part of that University of Liverpool. When you're online, you feel it, but it's not quite the same as when you get there for graduation. So it definitely was really valuable for me to have been there, and to just process the, you know, what it meant to have finished, and to have people acknowledge how hard you've worked to get there. That was quite nice as well, to see that acknowledgement. And Liverpool was a great place to visit. You know, you mentioned the Beatles, Nick, and we did go on a Beatles tour, and we had a great time at that, and some of the other things in Liverpool that were interesting to see as well. But the history of the university was fascinating to me as well. The earliest medical school beginnings there, one of the first in the UK. I mean, it was really interesting as well, just to see the roots behind the university. It was fascinating.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We do appreciate it. I'm sure it was pretty amazing to be on campus and actually be able to, you know, put faces to the names, and, you know, all of the people that you had met throughout your studies. So I'm sure it was an exciting time for you. So while we're speaking of graduation, let's talk about the alumni network. Have you joined the alumni network as of yet, Anne?
Yeah, I did sign up. I have a login. I haven't done anything much with it. It hasn't been enough time since I've been back from I took a little holiday after graduation. So, but I'm expecting that it will be my way to stay connected with the University of Liverpool. That's going to be my main connection, and I think, you know, a year from now I'll know how it's working for me.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. And why is joining important to you?
Well, I think that sense of belonging, actually. It's you as the years go by, you actually have a stronger sense of wanting to belong to your alumni from whatever institutions you've been involved in. It's just becomes a part of your history, and then those connections, those people that you've connected with over the years, and I assume that we'll have something like that will evolve amongst the MPH students as well.
Yeah. So I have a pop quiz for Nick. Nick, how large is the alumni body?
I'm so glad you asked me that, Nicole, but because before the presentation I actually looked. So it looks like as of our graduation that Dr. Ann attended in July, now we're up to approximately 202,000 graduates, and from over 171 countries. So that's not just a number that we pulled out of thin air to sound like we have a lot of graduates. We've actually documented that these graduates are coming from over 171 countries. So It's a very diverse network of graduates, just like the city of Liverpool is a diverse city. And I'm hopeful to follow up with Dr. Ann. I've made a note in my diary that September 18th, 2018, I'm going to reach out and see how the alumni network has gone for you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So, you know, obviously to become an alumni, you got to get through the program itself. So let's talk a bit about the support network. Our audience can really get a sense of how excited you are and how interesting and exciting your program was. What about the support offered and received by the University of Liverpool Online? What did you think of the support available?
Yeah, the support was really excellent, and it is critical too to your success, because you do feel kind of isolated out there at the you know, on your computer, like where do you go for some help? And I found the support really was quite amazing. You know, right from the beginning, the enrollment process, the support I had to make that decision to actually enroll wasn't just you know, plugging in numbers on a web page. It was phone calls and follow-up phone calls and answers to questions and help with figuring out the finances, and all of those pieces that actually enabled me to make the decision were really supported by the enrollment advisor. That was really excellent. You know, through the student support process, there was always somebody there to help you, and I didn't find that I needed a lot of things there, but when I did need something, there was somebody there. There was a place to go to ask that question, to get some help if you needed to defer one module because something came up in your family, which did happen a couple of times for us. So that was really excellent. And then the faculty they're just always there. Like, there's always a mechanism to talk to them. There's ways to have workarounds if something happens that's out of your control that you can't foresee. There's support for that, and then the technical piece. You know, I had some issues at the very beginning with computer stuff, and it was a slightly different platform than we're working with today. And there was always help available to get that sorted out as well, including phone calls. It wasn't just, you know, emails or chat online. It was a phone call if I needed it, and that I don't think you can get that kind of support at a bricks and mortar university. Like, it really was excellent.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. As far as next steps, so we've learned about so much today, and we certainly appreciate, you know, you taking the time to tell us about your experience. I'm sure our audience can really get a sense of your excitement here. You know, as far as next steps, Nick, can you tell us about what's next?
Absolutely, Nicole. Other than graduation, this is my favorite time of year. It's our September intake, which is the most festive time at our university. So my day today was spent all day speaking with students in all different parts of the process, from the decision-making process to preparing for class. But really the first step is to contact us. We'll be here after the presentation. You can go online and chat us or message us or call us, but get in contact with us. We're here to support you. Our university really believes in a good process in preparing a student. So we'll work together with the goal of getting your application file before our admissions board with the thought of a positive acceptance during the first review. So we're here and we're waiting to hear from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. So let's talk about application success. So, of course, to start your program, there's an application, right? So let's discuss the application process. Can you speak a bit, Nick, about what makes a successful application?
Absolutely. And as you can see in the previous half hour that we've been together, it's a serious program. Dr. Ann has mentioned it takes a lot of time. So the application is just the first part of that. So bringing forward coming to a decision, and then it's up to, as Dr. Ann mentioned, staying organized as she did in the program, making sure you're sticking to your appointments, listening to your enrollment advisor with techniques throughout the writing essays and the letters of reference. So just think of it as you're applying to a job, but in this case you're applying to a prestigious British university, and of course we're here to guide you through that process.
Great. Well, thanks, Nick. So let's go to questions. We did have a question from one of our we do have a question, and really it's for Anne. And the candidate wants to know, how did you find the student-to-student and student-to-professor interaction while doing your online program?
Oh, that was excellent. It was a formal relationship, it wasn't a chatty relationship. It was in the context of academic writing, so that's a little bit different. But at the same time, you got to know each other. You got to know each other's context, your passions, the things you're interested in, what you're thinking, and you could have a bit of a debate. Like, you could challenge each other, and it was all done in a very trusting space and respectful. And just contributed to a very collaborative feel around the learning that we were doing. It was you had to be a little bit careful to acknowledge that the faculty was actually faculty and you were students. It was very easy to feel that we were a bunch of comrades working on a project together.
Okay. Well, thank you. Just getting other questions gathered. Okay, so are there any other questions that I should answer now? I know we are answering some questions in the background. Is there any other questions that I should ask of Anne or?
Nicole, I just got one in, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, I was speaking of the application process, and I just got a question. I saw online the next intake or start date is September 28th. Do I have time to apply? And if you don't mind, I'd like to answer that by saying yes, we do accept late applications all the way up until the first day of class. So we are still here accepting applications, getting them to our faculty board. So to Jeremy in the chat, yes, you would still be able to submit your application, and the first step would be to reach out to us as soon as possible.
Great. Thanks, Nick. And yeah, so thank you, Anne, for your answer. Thanks, Nick, for letting us know about the application and that there is still time to start. So really quickly, okay, I think we just got another question. How does U.S. and Canadian employers view a degree from the University of Liverpool? Is it upheld, respected, valued as compared to American and Canadian universities?
So Dr. Ann, do you want to tackle that from a student standpoint, and then maybe I can address it from a university representative?
Yeah, so one of the things I did first in my exploring this was go and speak to the Dean of Medicine at the Northern Medical Program at the university in my community, because he was from the UK, and I figured he would know. And I mean, the first thing he said was, it's part of the Russell Group, of course it's great. So certainly that was a very solid affirmation for me, and I've never had, and most people have been amazed that I actually didn't do something local, that I went beyond the Canadian borders to find something that had the content that I was looking for in a more international experience. So I've had nothing but positive feedback on my choice of institution.
Great. And how about you, Nick, from our perspective or from the university itself's perspective? How is it viewed?
Absolutely. So my sentiments would agree with Dr. Ann mentioned. We do a lot of research in North America as far as degree recognition and equivalencies, and we found that a degree from the UK will be equivalent to a degree done in the US or Canada. And from our research, employers, as Dr. Ann mentioned, are quite impressed to see that you've done an international degree and you've studied with a Russell Group institution. So in my 9 years working with Liverpool, I haven't uncovered any type of issues. It's always a more positive explanation that we're hearing when it comes to the comparison of degrees.
Great, thanks, Nick. We did get another question about how many credits are there in a module. Well, it depends on programs, so for more specific information about specific programs, it would be best to address that through an enrollment advisor, and I'm sure one of our enrollment advisors answered that question offline. But yeah, for more information specific to programs and modules and study points, that's definitely something that an enrollment advisor can provide you additional information on. So while we're speaking, I definitely want to talk about the referral program that we offer with the University of Liverpool Online. Before we close, I'd like to take a moment to mention that the recommended friend program. Conditions apply, but for some students who recommended friend to study, you can both enjoy a financial reward. As we say, those who study together succeed together. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about the next term. Right now, we are enrolling for the September 28th intake. If you have not already spoke with an enrollment advisor, let us know. We can certainly get you in touch with one right away to get your application completed. Now, we will, we're going to be actually taking questions for about 5 to 10 minutes after the session ends, so feel free to keep those questions coming. But of course, like we said, if you haven't spoken with an enrollment advisor, just let us know. We want you to get everything turned in, and get ready for your term to begin on the 28th. Okay, so with that said, we would like to thank you all for attending the webinar. Nick, thank you for helping out with the webinar. Jamie, Sammy, thank you for answering questions in the background. And a grand thank you for your information, your knowledge, and the shining example of a successful student that you have been. In closing, Anne, do you have any final words for the audience?
Yeah, my final words would be, if you're thinking about doing it and you can do it, go for it. It's a great experience. You won't be sorry that you did it, and you will get the help you need. If you stay organized and you ask for help when you need it, and you keep at it, you'll get it done, and you'll achieve a goal that you've got. So don't hold back. If you want to do it, go for it.
Well, thank you, Anne. Well said. And once again, this has been a University of Liverpool online webinar. Thank you, our best, and have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night.